Think your grocery bill is steep? Imagine living in a time when even basic sustenance was a daily struggle. Medieval peasants survived on whatever they could forage or cultivate. These 25 frugal meals weren't gourmet fare, yet they sustained entire generations through plagues, famines, and relentless toil. Pottage. Medieval pottage was a vital stew that sustained peasants through harsh conditions. Its simple base of oats or rye was boiled into a thick porridge, then enriched with any available vegetables like turnips, onions, leeks, cabbage, or sometimes carrots and peas. The recipe was flexible. As ingredients dwindled, fresh ones were added, allowing the pot to simmer for several days. This waste not, want not method maximized scarce resources and provided consistent nourishment. Occasionally, a small piece of salt pork or a few herbs improved flavor and increased calories. Despite its humble nature, pottage delivered essential energy and nutrients, making it indispensable during famines and long winters. It was more than food, it represented resilience and ingenuity, a daily solution to survival in an era of scarcity. By continuously reusing and refreshing the pot, medieval peasants ensured that every meal counted, making pottage a lasting symbol of practicality and endurance. Gruel. Gruel was the simplest meal for medieval peasants, made by boiling a small amount of oats, barley, or leftover grains in a large volume of water. The result was a thin, watery porridge that offered minimal calories and flavor. A pinch of salt might be added, but the overall taste remained plain. In times of famine, a single cup of grain could be stretched to feed many, providing only the bare minimum needed for survival. Its light consistency made gruel easy to digest for the sick, elderly, or those recovering from illness. Monasteries also relied on gruel during fasting periods, sometimes sweetening it slightly with honey or dried fruit for variety. Although unappetizing, gruel was a practical solution when richer foods were unavailable. It symbolized the harsh reality of medieval diets, where every bite was precious and resourcefulness was key to enduring relentless hardship. Gruel may have been meager, but it ensured that no one went entirely hungry during the most difficult times. Cabbage and onions. Cabbage and onions formed a practical duo in medieval peasant diets, offering both flavor and essential nutrients. Cabbage, with its large, robust heads, was grown in small garden plots and provided a steady supply of vitamins. Peasants harvested its outer leaves, while the central head continued to mature, ensuring a renewable source. Onions, hardy and versatile, grew well in poor soil and stored easily. They were often intercropped to repel pests and maximize garden space. When cooked together, these vegetables added depth to otherwise bland stews and pottages, improving taste without requiring elaborate preparation. Although they could sometimes cause digestive discomfort, the nutritional benefits far outweighed the drawbacks. Their consistent availability made cabbage and onions vital during periods of scarcity, reinforcing the limited yet robust medieval diet. They symbolized both simplicity and ingenuity, as communities relied on these basic ingredients to sustain life. Together, cabbage and onions were more than food. They were a testament to the enduring spirit of survival and practical resourcefulness. Rye bread. Rye bread was a staple in medieval diets, valued for its simplicity and ability to sustain hard-working peasants. Made from rye flour, water, and salt, it produced a dense, dark loaf that could be stored for days. Rye flour, more readily available than refined wheat, yielded bread with a robust, earthy flavor. Its preparation was straightforward. The dough was mixed, shaped, and baked in communal ovens, then left to harden as days passed. Rye bread provided essential carbohydrates and calories, supporting strenuous labor in the fields. Despite its coarse texture, every slice was vital in a diet where food scarcity was common. The bread's durability made it ideal for long journeys or times of famine. Resourcefulness was key, as leftovers might be soaked in broth or used to thicken stews. Rye bread, though humble, symbolized the resilience and frugality of medieval communities, sustaining generations through harsh economic and environmental challenges. Oatcakes. Oatcakes were a common, hearty food for medieval peasants, crafted from oats, water, and a pinch of salt. Ground oats provided a nutritious, fiber-rich base that was mixed into a simple dough. The resulting cakes were baked on hot stones or in small ovens, producing a firm, slightly crumbly texture. Oatcakes were portable and could be stored for several days, making them an ideal food for long days in the field. Their subtle, nutty flavor complemented other staples, such as stews and cheeses. Often eaten as a quick breakfast or a side with soups, oatcakes offered steady energy in an era when food was scarce and physical labor intense. The ease of preparation and reliable availability of oats ensured that these cakes remained a dietary cornerstone. For medieval communities, oatcakes were not just sustenance. They were a symbol of everyday resourcefulness and the ability to thrive despite limited resources. Peas and beans. Peas and beans were indispensable sources of protein in the medieval peasant diet, complementing the heavy reliance on grains and vegetables. These legumes were typically dried for long-term storage and could be cultivated even in modest garden plots. Once harvested, peas and beans were soaked and boiled into a thick, nutrient-dense mash that provided essential energy for labor-intensive days. Lightly seasoned with salt and occasionally enhanced with wild herbs, this simple preparation offered a modest but critical protein boost. During famines, legume mash sometimes became the primary meal, highlighting its importance when richer foods were scarce. Monasteries, too, depended on peas and beans during extended fasting periods. Their ability to improve soil fertility by fixing nitrogen further underscored their agricultural value. Despite occasionally causing minor digestive issues, peas and beans sustained communities through lean times. They symbolize the resourcefulness and resilience of medieval society, transforming humble legumes into a reliable source of nourishment that powered both physical labor and the enduring will to survive. Turnips. Turnips were a crucial vegetable in medieval kitchens, valued for their hardiness and efficiency. Thriving in poor soil, turnips provided a dependable source of nutrition year-round. Even a single seed could yield up to 15 pounds of produce, making turnips remarkably productive. They were typically chopped and boiled into stews or mixed into pottage, adding both bulk and flavor without overpowering other ingredients. Their mild taste allowed them to blend easily into meals, and every part of the turnip was used, the root as the main sustenance, the greens in soups, and even the flowers occasionally consumed. Storage was simple, too. Turnips were kept in cool cellars or dugout pits lined with straw, preserving them for months. This ensured a continuous food supply during winter and lean harvests. Turnips not only provided calories, but also symbolized the resourcefulness of medieval peasants who maximized every crop to survive harsh conditions. Their resilience and versatility made turnips a reliable staple in an era defined by scarcity. Bread. Medieval bread was a cornerstone of peasant survival, crafted from coarse grains like rye or barley that grew in poor soil. Unlike today's soft loaves, peasant bread was dense and dark. Because the finest wheat was reserved for nobles, commoners mixed lower-quality flour with fillers such as ground peas, beans, or even tree bark. Baked communally once a week, these loaves hardened over time, requiring a dip in pottage or ale to become edible. Consumed in large quantities, often 2 to 3 pounds daily, bread provided over half of a laborer's calories. It was not a treat, but a necessity, symbolizing both sustenance and the struggle against scarcity. Strict rules forbade waste, and stealing bread carried severe penalties. Despite its unrefined taste and texture, every loaf was a lifeline that bound communities together and fueled the demanding work of medieval life. Bread stood as a testament to resourcefulness in an era where every morsel was critical for survival. Barley soup. Barley soup was a nourishing dish widely consumed by medieval peasants. Barley, known for its hearty texture and nutritional value, formed the base of the soup. The grain was simmered in water or a light broth until it softened, releasing a natural earthy flavor. Often, seasonal vegetables such as carrots, onions, and leeks were added to enrich the soup. Barley soup was both filling and economical, providing essential carbohydrates and fiber necessary for the rigors of daily labor. Its preparation was simple. Ingredients were combined in a large pot and simmered slowly, allowing flavors to meld. The soup was served hot, offering warmth and sustenance during cold months. Its versatility allowed for adjustments based on available produce, making it a practical choice during lean harvests. In times of scarcity, barley soup ensured that even modest meals could provide the energy and nutrients vital for survival in challenging conditions. Boiled legumes. Boiled legumes were an essential component of the medieval peasant diet, providing a reliable source of protein and fiber. Various beans and peas were boiled until tender, forming a simple yet nutritious dish. The legumes were often cooked in water with a bit of salt, sometimes enhanced with locally available herbs for flavor. This method of preparation preserved their natural goodness and made them easier to digest. Boiled legumes were versatile. They could be eaten on their own or incorporated into stews and pottages to add bulk and nutritional value. Their slow-cooked texture made them an ideal food during periods of food scarcity, as they could be stored for extended periods and reheat well. For communities relying on limited resources, boiled legumes provided steady energy and were a cost-effective way to obtain essential nutrients. Their simplicity and high nutritional content exemplified the resourcefulness of medieval diets, ensuring that even modest meals contributed to the daily sustenance and survival of hard-working peasants. Turnip pottage. Turnip pottage was a fundamental dish for medieval peasants, made from turnips simmered into a hearty, thick stew. Turnips, readily grown in poor soil, were peeled, chopped, and added to a pot with water or a basic broth. The slow simmering process broke down the turnips, releasing a mild, earthy flavor that formed the backbone of the pottage. Often, additional vegetables or grains were added when available, enhancing both nutrition and texture. Turnip pottage provided essential calories and nutrients, sustaining laborers through long, hard days. Its preparation was simple and efficient, making it a reliable dish during lean seasons. The stew's consistency allowed it to be stored and reheated, ensuring that every portion contributed to reducing waste. In a time of scarcity, turnip pottage exemplified resourcefulness, turning humble ingredients into a filling meal that reinforced community resilience and the ability to survive harsh conditions with minimal means. Lentil soup. Lentil soup was a dietary staple in medieval times, valued for its high protein and fiber content. Lentils, a legume that grows well in poor soils, were simmered with water and a few basic vegetables like onions and carrots to create a hearty, satisfying soup. The lentils softened during cooking, thickening the broth and imparting a mild, earthy flavor. This simple dish was both nutritious and economical, offering essential calories and nutrients at a low cost. Lentil soup required minimal preparation, just soaking, boiling, and seasoning, and could be easily adjusted with available herbs or spices to enhance its taste. Its warm, filling nature made it especially popular during cold seasons and times of scarcity. For medieval peasants, lentil soup was more than just sustenance. It was a symbol of practical, everyday nutrition that provided energy for long days of labor and helped sustain communities through lean harvests and challenging conditions. Stewed root vegetables. Stewed root vegetables were a common meal among medieval peasants, offering a simple yet nutritious option. A variety of roots, such as carrots, parsnips, and turnips, were peeled, chopped, and slowly stewed in water, or a light broth. This gentle cooking process softened the vegetables, melding their flavors into a comforting, hearty dish. The stew was low in cost and high in sustenance, providing vital carbohydrates and vitamins needed for daily labor. Its simplicity meant that even in times of scarcity, available root vegetables could be transformed into a warming meal. Often, a pinch of salt and a few herbs were added to enhance the natural flavors. Stewed root vegetables were versatile, served as a main course or a side dish, and could be easily stored for several days. This practical preparation method highlighted the medieval commitment to using every resource, ensuring that even the simplest ingredients contributed to survival and community resilience in challenging times. Foraged wild greens salad. Foraged wild greens salad was a seasonal refreshment for medieval peasants, made from edible plants gathered from fields and woodlands. Dandelions, nettles, and sorrel were commonly collected, washed, and roughly chopped to create a simple salad. These wild greens provided essential vitamins and a burst of flavor, adding variety to the otherwise monotonous diet. The natural bitterness of the greens was balanced by a light dressing, often made from vinegar or a squeeze of lemon when available. Foraged wild greens were not only nutritious, but also symbolized the intimate connection medieval communities had with nature. The practice of gathering these plants was a communal activity, sharing knowledge about safe, edible species. This salad offered a refreshing change during spring and summer, boosting morale and health after long winters. Its simplicity and reliance on freely available ingredients underscored peasant resilience and resourcefulness in transforming nature's bounty into a nourishing, vibrant dish. Smoked salted fish stew. Smoked or salted fish stew was a practical dish for medieval communities using preserved fish to provide vital protein. Fresh fish, prone to spoilage, was smoked or salted immediately after capture. The preserved fish was then stewed with water or a light broth and simple vegetables such as onions and leeks to create a hearty meal. The smoking and salting processes imparted a robust, distinctive flavor to the fish, which melded with the stew during slow cooking. This dish was particularly valuable during winter or in regions far from the coast, where fresh fish was unavailable. The stew provided essential calories and nutrients, ensuring that even preserved food could offer a satisfying meal. Its preparation was straightforward, making it a reliable option in times of scarcity. Smoked salted fish stew exemplified medieval resourcefulness, transforming preserved ingredients into a nutritious, warming dish that sustained communities during challenging seasons. Flatbread. Flatbread was a common and practical food for medieval peasants, prepared with minimal ingredients. Made from coarsely ground flour, water, and salt, the dough was rolled thin and baked on hot stones or in simple ovens. This method produced a crisp, thin bread that was easy to store and transport. Flatbread provided essential carbohydrates and was used to accompany soups, stews, or other simple dishes. Its versatility meant it could be eaten alone or used as a wrap for available fillings, maximizing its utility in everyday meals. The straightforward preparation and low cost of ingredients made flatbread an ideal choice in a time of resource scarcity. Despite its simplicity, flatbread was a crucial element of the medieval diet, reflecting the ingenuity of peasants who transformed basic supplies into a sustaining food. Its role as a dietary staple reinforced the importance of frugality and adaptability in an era defined by hard work and limited resources. Offal Stew. Offal Stew was a resourceful and nutritious meal for medieval peasants, utilizing animal organs that were often overlooked. Various offal, including liver, heart, and kidneys, were cleaned, chopped, and simmered with water or broth and available vegetables. The long, slow cooking process tenderized the offal and allowed the flavors to meld, creating a rich, hearty stew. This dish maximized every part of the animal, reflecting a no-waste philosophy essential for survival. Offal Stew was affordable, yet packed with protein and vital nutrients, sustaining laborers during lean times. Simple seasonings, such as salt and local herbs, enhanced the natural flavors without overwhelming the dish. Prepared shortly after a slaughter, the stew was enjoyed fresh, ensuring maximum nutritional benefit. Offal Stew was more than just a meal. It was a symbol of medieval ingenuity and resilience, turning humble ingredients into sustenance that supported daily life even under harsh conditions. Apple cider. Apple cider was a key refreshment in medieval peasant life. Apples were gathered from local orchards and pressed to yield juice that naturally fermented with wild yeasts. The resulting cider, mildly alcoholic at 4 to 8%, provided essential calories and hydration. It was a practical way to preserve apple flavor and nutrients during lean months. Cider was enjoyed daily and at festivals, uniting communities. Its production was simple: harvest apples, crush them, and ferment the juice in earthen vessels. This process ensured a safe beverage when water quality was uncertain. Cider's tangy, subtly sweet taste quenched thirst and sustained energy. It could be consumed alone or used in recipes to enhance flavor. In regions with abundant orchards, cider exemplified local self-reliance. Apple cider was more than refreshment; it was a cherished elixir in medieval life. Salted herring. Medieval peasants depended on salted herring for quick, nutritious meals. Fresh herring spoiled rapidly, so fishermen salted the fish immediately after catch. The salted herring was stored in barrels and transported inland, providing protein and essential calories without extra cooking. Laborers depended on this grab-and-go food during long days, and it was acceptable during fasts when meat was forbidden. White herring was simply gutted and salted, while red herring was smoked for deeper flavor. The intense salt preserved the fish for weeks, ensuring a reliable food source in winter. Salted herring trade flourished, feeding communities with its simplicity. It could be eaten alone or added to stews. Despite its strong odor and laborious preparation, salted herring symbolized medieval resourcefulness. Its ease of storage helped maintain steady nutrition in challenging times, ensuring essential nourishment was always available. This preserved fish provided reliable energy, vital for hard labor and daily survival. Cabbage Stew. Cabbage stew was a practical and nutritious dish in medieval kitchens. Cabbage, plentiful and hearty, formed the core of this simple stew. The vegetable was chopped into large pieces and slowly simmered with water, or a light broth, often accompanied by root vegetables such as turnips or carrots. The long, slow cooking process softened the cabbage, releasing a subtle sweetness and deep flavor into the broth. This stew was both filling and economical, offering vital vitamins and minerals while requiring minimal ingredients. Its preparation was straightforward, making it an ideal meal for peasants who relied on readily available, low-cost produce. Cabbage stew could be enhanced with herbs if available, but its simplicity was its strength. In times of famine, this dish provided necessary sustenance and warmth. Its consistent availability and ease of preparation made cabbage stew a symbol of medieval resourcefulness, helping communities survive through hard times with minimal means. The peasant's protein. Medieval peasants relied on offal for protein during scarce times. They ingeniously transformed animal organs into hearty dishes. A pig's head provided tender cheeks, crisp fried ears, and scrambled brain resembling an egg dish. Cow stomachs were boiled into a haggis-like mixture with grains and liver, while sheep lungs were sliced and fried with onions for nourishment. Local customs reserved prime cuts for the lord, leaving offal for resourceful commoners. Every organ was used, minimizing waste and maximizing nutrition. Offal was prepared quickly, often on the same day as the slaughter, to ensure freshness without modern preservation. This zero-waste practice turned neglected parts into vital sustenance, feeding families through harsh seasons. These meals ensured that even the poorest secured necessary nourishment daily, proving that every scrap of animal protein had value in survival and resilience. Acorn and Ash Cake. During severe famines, peasants innovated with acorns and ash cakes to stave off starvation. Acorns, bitter from tannins, were soaked repeatedly and processed into flour. This acorn flour was mixed with available grain to make bread when supplies were low. Ash cakes were made by mixing ground meal with water to form a paste, then flattening it into patties and cooking in hot embers. This method required no special equipment, using the natural heat of ashes. Though coarse and unappetizing, acorn and ash cakes provided vital calories in desperate times. These emergency breads were prepared quickly to ensure freshness. Their creation reflected the resourcefulness of medieval communities, turning unlikely ingredients into sustenance. This improvisation was crucial during famines, ensuring every morsel contributed to survival. Acorn and ash cakes symbolized ingenuity, proving even minimal resources could be transformed into life-sustaining food. Stew sustained life. Improvised stew. Peasants often prepared improvised stews using whatever ingredients were available. Leftovers, seasonal vegetables, wild herbs, and scraps of meat or offal were combined into one pot. Vegetables such as turnips, cabbages, beans, and foraged greens were simmered with stock to create a filling dish. Small amounts of prized ingredients from special occasions were sometimes added to enhance flavor. The cooking method was simple. All ingredients were tossed into a pot over a steady fire and cooked until flavors melded. This approach ensured minimal waste and maximized nutrition during both abundance and scarcity. Improvised stews exemplified peasant resourcefulness and adaptability, turning limited supplies into a hearty meal. Each bowl was a testament to ingenuity and the determination to survive harsh conditions. The dish not only provided necessary calories, but also brought communities together, reinforcing bonds through shared meals and creativity. Stew sustained life. Foraged wild greens and vegetables. Peasants foraged wild greens and vegetables in spring and summer to supplement their diet. Dandelions, nettles, sorrel, mushrooms, wild garlic, and chickweed were gathered from fields and forests. Though sometimes bitter, these greens provided essential vitamins when stored food was scarce. They were harvested and boiled to soften harsh flavors before being added to simple pottages. Root vegetables and wild onions were also collected to enrich stews. Foraging relied on local knowledge to distinguish safe plants from poisonous ones. This practice improved nutrition and reinforced community bonds as families shared tips and seasonal finds. Gathering wild edibles showcased peasant ingenuity in turning nature's bounty into sustenance. It provided a crucial dietary supplement during poor harvests and helped sustain health. Foraged foods were a testament to resilience, transforming unpredictable gifts into a reliable source of nourishment that strengthened communal ties and ensured survival through seasons. Chestnut and Nut Repast. Chestnuts and nuts were vital in the medieval peasant diet in times of grain shortages. In regions with abundant chestnut trees, these nuts provided essential carbohydrates. Peasants roasted chestnuts in ashes, enhancing sweetness and easing digestion. When chestnuts were scarce, they were dried and ground into flour, mixed with grain to extend bread. Acorns, though plentiful, required extensive soaking to remove bitter tannins before use. Acorn meal was mixed with other flours to make emergency bread. These forest foods provided calories and variety when harvests failed. Foraging and processing reflected peasant ingenuity in using every resource. Chestnuts and nuts were valued in trade, sometimes used as barter. Their consumption reinforced community resilience, providing sustenance through harsh winters and lean seasons. Reliance on forest bounty underscored connection to nature and commitment to survival through resourcefulness and adaptability. This bounty of natural foods strengthened peasant life and ensured survival during difficult times. Potato pancakes. Potato pancakes were a veritable staple across the nation. In an era when fresh produce was either bought with hard-earned cash, traded through bartering, or even grown in modest backyard gardens, potatoes were always at hand. With traditional pancake ingredients like flour and butter often scarce, grandmas discovered that grated potatoes combined with a few simple seasonings made for a filling alternative. These crispy, golden pancakes were not just a way to start the day. They were a practical solution that sustained households for decades. Zesty grilled ham. A bit of a quirky name for a dish that's all about bold flavors, zesty grilled ham was known for its tangy marinade and citrus glaze. Picture a ham dish that's marinated to perfection, grilled, and then topped with a bright and zesty glaze. This dish brought a vibrant twist to traditional ham recipes and became a must-have at summer barbecues. Think of KFC's Thai chili sweet wings, but swap out the sweet sauce for a more citrusy kick. It was a southern favorite where ham is practically a staple. Despite its uniqueness, this dish mysteriously vanished from mainstream menus. Considering the American food landscape was leaning heavily towards savory flavors, zesty grilled ham stood out with its fresh, tangy notes. Preparing it was simple: natural sweeteners, dried herbs, basic spices, citrus juices, and of course, a quality ham. The result? A dish that was easy to make but packed a punch in flavor. Whether served at a cookout or a casual dinner, zesty grilled ham was one of those rare recipes that left everyone asking for seconds. Chitlins. Not for the faint of heart, chitlins, or chitterlings, represent the ultimate example of no-waste cooking. Made from thoroughly cleaned pig intestines that were boiled and occasionally fried, this dish was less a luxury than a necessity. Grandmas made sure every part of the animal was used, sometimes even stuffing the intestines with forcemeat to create a rudimentary form of sausage. Originally a southern staple, chitlins spread across the nation during the Great Migration, standing as a powerful reminder of how every scrap could be transformed into sustenance.
Baked ziti. I'm sure many of you have grown up on your grandparents' baked ziti, especially if you have Italian roots. And if you do, you share that connection with this dish that has traveled all the way from the streets of Italy. Immigrants brought baked ziti to America in the middle of the 19th century, and since then it has become a beloved family meal, often served at big gatherings or Sunday dinners. Throughout the early part of the 20th century, baked ziti became a staple in many households, eventually becoming associated with the finer things in life. By the mid-20th century, families had passed down their secret recipes, and baked ziti hit its peak popularity in the 1950s to 1970s. It was a dish you could enjoy at both a casual potluck and a fancy at-home date, making it a cornerstone of Italian-American cooking. You could even find it at weddings, which really speaks to its popularity. If you haven't had baked ziti yet, would you ever give it a try?
Swiss steak. Let's talk about a dish that's perfect for steak lovers: Swiss steak. This dish is one of the smoothest, most tender steak recipes you'll ever come across. Slow cooked to perfection, it practically melts in your mouth, making it a wintertime favorite for families looking to bring warmth and sustenance to their dinner tables. Swiss steak had strong roots in Southern cuisine while incorporating elements of Swiss cooking, like using bay leaves for added flavor. It was a budget-friendly meal costing just $1 or $3 to prepare, including the steak, vegetables, flour, garlic, and beef broth. Despite its simplicity, the dish delivered a depth of flavor that was unparalleled. The tenderized steak, simmered in a rich, savory broth, was a hearty dish that could turn even the coldest winter night into a cozy family gathering. This recipe was beloved by anyone who appreciated a meal that was as much about texture as it was about flavor. If you've ever enjoyed slow-cooked, tender steaks, you know exactly why Swiss steak deserves a comeback. Cornmeal mush. A humble porridge known as cornmeal mush became popular throughout the eastern and southeastern United States. In the Midwest, it was often drizzled with maple syrup or molasses for extra sweetness, while Eastern European traditions sometimes called for pouring milk over it instead of boiling it. For many, this inexpensive dish offered a filling start to the day. Some families even fried the mush for added texture at breakfast, a far cry from today's avocado toast or acai bowls, but a nourishing option in its own right during tougher economic times. Chicken and leek casserole. The chicken and leek casserole is a classic that combines the tender, juicy flavor of chicken with the delicate, mild taste of leeks. This dish, with its creamy, savory sauce, provides a comforting and flavorful meal. Traditionally, the casserole might have included prunes or other fruits to add a touch of sweetness, but modern versions often use white wine or Dijon mustard to enhance the flavor. Chicken and leek casserole was a favorite during the 19th and early 20th centuries, known for its simplicity and ability to feed a family. It embodies the idea of home-cooked comfort, making it a perfect choice for a warming winter dinner. Bringing this dish back to our tables allows us to reconnect with a simpler time when family meals were cherished moments. Scrapple. Scrapple is a Pennsylvania Dutch creation that epitomizes resourceful cooking. Combining pork scraps, ranging from snouts to tails, with cornmeal and flour, grandmas would form the mixture into a loaf that could be sliced and fried. This dish was a beloved staple among Mennonite and Amish communities, ensuring that every part of the animal was put to good use. Despite some modern reluctance to try what was once considered mystery meat, scrapple holds an enduring place in American food history as a symbol of home-cooked ingenuity. Lamb shank and barley soup. Lamb shank and barley soup, often known as Scotch broth, embodies the essence of winter warmth. This dish has roots in Scotland and was cherished for its ability to provide both comfort and sustenance. Lamb shanks, known for their rich flavor and marrow-filled bones, are simmered with barley, which lends a delightful nutty texture to the soup. The addition of carrots, leeks, and turnips creates a hearty, flavorful broth. The slow simmering process, which could take several hours, ensures that the flavors meld beautifully, creating a soup that is both filling and nourishing. This traditional recipe was a favorite among Scottish families, particularly during the harsh winters. With the advent of modern convenience foods, such time-consuming dishes have become less common. But the deep, comforting flavors of lamb shank and barley soup make it a dish worth rediscovering.